What's up, y'all? How are you doing? Are you well? Are things going well in your life? Welcome on into 10 at 3. Wes Rucker here alongside Elijah Nixon today, and we got Tom Barclay in the back. We hope you're doing all right. We hope you had a good weekend. If you're a Tennessee athletics fan, I'm going to guess that you didn't.
It wasn't so great, going to be honest with you.
Yeah,
if it wasn't fun to watch in any shape.
I just want to see Tom's outfit.
You want to see me on?
I want to see your outfit.
Hey, he's on Bragg Street today. I'm
actually all decked out in South Carolina again.
There you go.
Go ahead, show it, Tom.
Fine, I'll
show it, Tom. There you go.
There he is.
Yeah.
Go Packs, but also go Vols. This is just
It's his alma mater. It's all right.
It's all right. We'll probably talk a little bit about that. They're involved.
Yeah, it was pick your bad this weekend. There was no. There's like if we're looking at this from purely a black or white binary good or bad scale, I don't think I'm stepping out on the biggest limb here to say bad weekend. Bad weekend. Bad, terrible, no good, very, very bad weekend. We said we'd have a lot of news for you when we came back at 71 hours and we left you at 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday and said, there's a lot going on this weekend and we'll have a lot to talk about in 71 hours.
Some of the things we did not expect.
We did not expect. No. And some of them, obviously we'll discuss all of this, but I want to get to this off the top because I want to make sure we don't forget to discuss it. Glad to see Rakia Jackson is all right as far as we can tell. If you've missed this, again, we're going to get right to this one at the beginning and then get it out of the way because we can't not discuss it. But, I don't want to have a bunch of fun and for an hour talking about stuff and, this sucks, let's laugh about it, and then get to that. It feels a little tacky. So let's go ahead and get on the front end. Glad Rakia Jackson's all right after what was just a truly horrendous sounding incident with fellow former Tennessee star James Pierce Jr. down there in Miami. Lots of charges there, none of them good, and the video not looking great either. And I'll say this, everyone out there deserves to be heard in court. That's what we'll let the justice system do what it does. It can handle that, but does not look good. And I'll say this as someone who covered James Pierce Jr. for a few years. Always issues there, and the degree to which they was always the matter. It was never like, it's been a really good day. It's just kind of what's going on and how bad is it? Is this a guy needing to grow up, or is this something worse? And the talent, the ability that he's had to play the game is undeniable. Look at the rookie season he had with the Falcons. Look at how well he played at Tennessee. When he decided to play, there were times that he did not really want to practice or anything, and that's why he didn't start for a lot of that record-breaking season. And and you just kind of hope that when someone gets to go through life with different rules, because there are different rules for different people, that is sort of the nature of sports. It's the nature of life. Should it be? Should it not be? I don't know, but it is. We live in a world where the financial ramifications for people performing well or winning or losing, they are what they are. And so different athletes of different ability are given different level of chances because that's how the game is played. It's how it has always been played. It is, as far as I can tell, how it will always be played. And you just hope that someone learns lessons and matures along the way. And you don't want to write this story yet, but this chapter of it's pretty ugly. And it's not, it's unfortunate because a lot of people have stuck their neck out there pretty far for this kid several times. And it has not worked, it seems.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking when I heard about it. And, of course, when you see it and you got to figure out the news aspect of it. I'm all I'm gonna say is prayers up to both of those guys. I think for Rakia, I'm gonna start with her first. For her to be in that incident, I just pray that she finds peace with it and she's happy and she finds something to get out of the situation because again, you don't want to be somebody put their hands on you or whatever the case may have been, being stalked or whatever it was. You just got to pray for her, man, and pray that she find peace mentally and emotionally right now. And for him, man, I just pray that he just finds just start to find whatever is bothering him a lot. Just find what doesn't, because again, that those 2 seconds, that whatever he did, that's the worst mistake in the world that you want to do. I mean, like, reportedly crashing your Lamborghini into her car and trying to make sure she doesn't get to the police and things of that nature. You got to find something that makes it, to make him go at peace with this, because at the end of the day, those charges aren't going to go nowhere. There's going to be consequences from it, but he's going to have to grow from it. And I hope that, whatever consequences are handed to him, he'll just take them and just be able to grow as a person, because like you said, life isn't over. But hopefully he could find a way to be better in the situation.
Yeah, and I'll say this before we move on. I try. It's one of these things that you say you don't do, but to a certain extent, we all do it. It's just a matter of to what extent we do it. But I try really hard not to judge anyone in this life based on the worst moments of their life, based on the worst decision they ever made, based on their low. It's easy to say that. It's really much harder to actually not do that, because some things are bad. And again, the only people who, as far as we could tell, in most relationships, the only people who ever know what's going on in a relationship to the nth degree are the people who are in it. And so we don't know what led to, we saw what happened. We saw the end result, or hopefully the end result. But we don't know what led into it. We don't know anything said, done. And hey, legally, everyone gets their say. So I'm sure this will go through courts. I see no way it won't. And so they'll go through that, and they'll be able to tell their story or reach an agreement or whatever they do. But, there's just, it's being a kid. I just remember being taught all the time, count to 10. Count to 10. Is it still that big of a deal? Count to 10. Count. And sometimes when you're a kid, you count to 10, you go, yep, I'm still every bit as mad as I was, Mom or Dad, and sometimes, most of the time, you're like, no, you're right, it's not that big of a deal. Just take a step back and think. Try really hard. It's hard for young people. Try really hard to think about what you're doing when you're doing it, and think, is this worth it? Because I'd like to, if you're like most people, you'd like to live about 100 years on this earth. These are people in their early 20s, got a whole lot of life ahead of them, got a whole lot of opportunities out there, athletically and beyond, financially, all these things. And, it's just sometimes certain gifts are given to people, but they don't get the gifts to know how to deal with those other gifts. And they can be either really talented athletically or musically or intellectually or whatever it may be, but they don't have those skills, those emotional intelligence skills, that rational thinking, that big picture thinking, because most young people don't have it. They just don't have it. Some people do. Most young people, in my experience, don't. And not most people don't end up doing something like this, allegedly, right? But it's just you can teach people, and you can try, and you can try, and you can try, and you just hope they eventually get it. Because, you hear things like, Lamborghinis, trips to to Miami, like, they're young people who are clearly doing well in life, right? They clearly are doing well financially and athletically in life. But there's more to it than that. And people have tried to mentor James Pierce. I know they have. I know for a fact they have. And ultimately, it's down to him. And he's not making good decisions. I mean, I can say that. We can't judge. Am I wrong, Elijah? It just seems like one of these deals where we can say, listen, we don't know all the facts here, and we can't and shouldn't probably judge until we know those things. But we see enough to know that very clearly some very bad decisions are being made here.
Yeah, with the charges and things that came out, the reports and stuff that came out, it's like you could look at it and be like, this is really horrible. I mean, I never met him, never covered him, I don't know anything about him.
Nobody here ever really talked to him, to be honest. He never wanted to do it. He never did interviews.
I don't really know. I can't really speak on what his character is like. Well, but on the outside looking in, as if say this is your first time ever seeing whoever or knowing this guy, whoever he was, yes, it doesn't look like it's a great thing. But like I said, I just hope that he, whatever consequences that may come to this man, because he's not a child, he's not a boy, he's a man. I just hope that he will look in the mirror and try to grow from it and try to, brush past it. I mean, I can't, and for a kid too. I mean,
there's no question,
because that's emotional. That's
again,
emotional distraught and
it's
mentally
true,
distraught.
and we don't know, and we got to be fair here. There oftentimes is more to a story than we know is out there. So again, we can wait here, but we can just say that right now, at least physically, it seems like they're both okay.
Right. That's a start.
It's a start,
right?
Start. I mean, it's a start, but yes, and hopefully there's some peace there, and hopefully we can, the next time we have an update on that situation, it won't be as bad, although I have a feeling that's probably not the case. I think there's going to be much more to this story, and I don't think it's going to be very fun for anyone involved, but sometimes the news is like that, and we don't really choose the stories. Sometimes the stories choose themselves, and if you're in Knoxville, Tennessee with these two young people, this is a story, and it's going to be a story, and it's going to be one moving forward, and we'll just kind of have to hope for the best and see where things go from there. On a much, obviously a much lighter note. I mean, it's not fun still, but, things on the field for Tennessee, not great over the weekend. We'll talk about the men later. I think there's different levels of concern there than there are for the women. Neither one great, obviously. Tennessee blowing a big lead up there at Rupp Arena, second time this season, blown a double-digit second-half lead to Kentucky in a loss. We will talk about that. But I think, and I'll mention this a little later, my level of panic there is not nearly the same as it sort of is for the women right now, because I think those are different. The men are still right there, and they're still, compared to when they've played the best teams other than Florida at Florida, they're right there. So I think concern, certainly. Mentally, yes, there's some concerns there. There's some things they got to work through. And we'll talk about those things because you've been told all week not to let something happen, and then that thing happens. That's not good. We're not going to sugarcoat that. But I think what happened to the Lady Vols yesterday is infinitely more concerning because, and this is often the case in women's basketball, if we're being honest, there's a top tier, right? For the longest time, the Lady Vols were in it. And for a little while now, they've not been. And there are a few top teams there at that top, and they can just boat race everybody. And Tennessee is not the first and won't be the last team to go to Columbia and have Dawn Staley's Gamecocks put one on them, okay? That full stop. But Lady Vols supposed to be a team that maybe can go to the second week into the tournament, maybe get the right bracket, make a nice run, recruiting well. Things look like for the longest they're going in the right direction there, and maybe they still are. But that is when you take the worst loss in program history and you do it despite the Gamecocks not having a couple players that are really important for them. And for that to happen, and for that game to go from, 17 or 2017, whatever it was, to just a 40-point L, just bad, just like that. And then the comments after from Kim, we'll I guess, do you want to get to those this segment or early next segment, Elijah?
You get it right here.
Let's go ahead and get to, do we have them loaded up there, Tom? Can we get to them? The quote after the game from
if you're Kim, we can get
here's what we're going to talk about in a minute, because here's what was said, and then we can make some discussion about it afterwards. But here after the loss is Lady Vols coach Kim Caldwell.
I mean, we just had a lot of quit in us tonight, and that's been something that's been consistent with our team is we're not comfortable and things don't go our way, and I have a team that'll just quit on you, and you can't do that in big games. You can't do that anytime in the SEC, but you certainly can't do that at a program like this.
And if that were the first time that had been said, I don't think anyone would have batted an eye. But it's sort of been a trend with some things that have been said where I said this about Rick Barnes before, and I'll say it again. I think he knows it starts with him. I think she knows in her case, it starts with her. But I don't know if she knows at a place this big what it looks like when you say things like that a few times and you don't say, hey, it starts with me. I don't know if that's what anybody is going to enjoy hearing, Elijah.
I think with her and that team is really, it's a young team. And that young team doesn't have the culture set yet, because the older people on that team either was there for 1 year or wasn't there prior, especially the playmakers. Janai Barker just transferred in. Mm-hmm. She's one of the most, but the culture that was set for UCLA, where she was coming from, is not the same culture as Tennessee. If you're expecting her to be the leader at the Tennessee, she has to have the culture and that foundation already set. And when I think with Kim Caldwell, I just think it's a disband between the players and I think they both sets of let's say this, the players and the coaches both want to win. Nobody wants to go out there and compete and lose. I mean, that's the nature of the game. But I just feel like the messages are not connected with one another to go out there and make plays happen. You lose against UConn by 30, which was the second worst loss of all time. Mm-hmm. You lose against South Carolina by 40, which is now the first worst loss of the program history of all time. You play Texas on Sunday. It's not going to get easier. No. It's not going to get easier. When you go play Texas, and last year she was the SEC Player of the Year with Madison Booker, the road is going to get harder. So what needs to happen, and I'm not going to say it's too little too late, but it needs to happen soon. They have to find a way to gel. This coaching staff and the players have to find a way to get it together and go, because I think Tennessee is a very, very good team. I think Kim Caldwell is a very good coach, and I think the players are very, very good. But I just think that it's just not meshing right now. And what is it for? We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what's unfortunate is I don't know, and we'll talk about this after the break, but if they have a plan B, I don't think I've seen it. And that's where I'm like, whew. I mean, when you're getting just assaulted in the paint and they are 2-foot shot after 2-foot shot after 2-foot shot, and you're missing three after missing three after missing three after missing three, if you're going to be a team who, if you're not making threes, you just cannot win, that it's hard to sustain postseason success. You have to give yourself a little more margin for error than that, I think. And I know, I'll be honest with this, I say this all the time, I've covered the men more often. I know them more than I know the women, right? I mean, I can't work 7 days a week. I'd like to, but I can't. And so a lot of times on Sundays, like I can't, I can watch those games, but I'm not covering them. I don't know them as well. You can't be everywhere all the time. And so I speak, I guess, with a little more authority with the men because I know them better. But when I watch the women, I still have thoughts. And I'd like to see a plan B, and I'd like to see maybe a little different approach when you're in front of reporters. And we'll talk about those things going forward because we got to talk about this a little bit more after the break. We're kind of wedged up against one now because we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about the Lady Vols, and then we'll transition into the other sad trombone of the weekend, which was the Tennessee men. And then we'll play probably another sad trombone about something else. But then we'll remind you that, hey, baseball season starts this week. And softball season started last week and looked good. So not all bad, but certainly more bad than good right now. And we'll talk more about that here in just a second, coming back on 10 at 3.
And we're back.
We're in secret time now.
Yeah. Little snazzy little bumpers there.
I like
finally.
it. I like it. Adding
it adds a little bit of
another bell and whistle.
A little bit of separation there, so it's not just like we're staring into the void.
A bit of
for
zhuzh.
3 seconds.
A bit of zhuzh.
Before talking into secret time here.
Yeah.
So, folks, YouTubers, welcome in.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a good way to when you have to discuss, like, it's always the weirdest thing when you have to discuss both things that are going on the floor, whether they're good or bad, but then also something truly horrendous that's off the field, and you're like, I can't really you can't really transition these two things. You can't really say, hey, here's something. Wow, we're lucky everyone involved in this is still alive, which is the truth in this case. Lucky that multiple people are not more seriously hurt about a really bad situation.
Yeah.
And then, now some games are being played and they're putting the ball in a bucket or not. And
I think that's kind of the unfortunate nature of sports, reporting in general is like you get one of the two basically.
Yeah.
It's this awful story or this, it's sports.
Yeah, and it puts it and it's cheap to say, but I guess it really does kind of quickly put into perspective, like, the result of a game being one thing and then something else where, again, it's like we're all really, really fortunate everybody here's alive right now. And it's
That's how I felt.
30 seconds away.
That's how I felt because those things could turn left fast.
They
in
can.
a hurry.
Yeah.
I mean, you just see the video and you see,
the
one of the
NBC
police
affiliate out
officers
in
saying he's
Miami
lucky
had
to
that
be
video
alive.
of him, being arrested, and it was quite.
I mean,
quite violent.
A guy of that size, that angry, yes, very lucky that it didn't go worse.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, 5 seconds away, y'all. We'll intro in with that stinger again, so stand by.
Welcome back to 10 at 3. Wes Rucker here with Elijah Nixon and with Tom Barclay here on a Monday, February the 9th, 2026, as the Olympics roll on over there in Milan Cortina. Certainly glad to see that Lindsey Vonn did not have worse injuries than she did, although it certainly didn't sound particularly fun. I mean, I'm just barely older than she is, and like, if like it gets a little colder, my left knee will feel it. So like I'm putting into perspective here. Like when you start to age, I don't care what kind of an athlete you are, like things hurt. And especially when you're doing the insane things that they're doing, which have y'all been able to see any of this drone footage from the downhill skiing?
No,
it's insane.
Wait, do you mean like the footage of what happened with her, or just
no? Just
I've seen it.
Like the drone following the ski people going downhill.
Yeah.
It is insane. It's like it reminds me of earlier in my career when I covered professional cycling for a little bit there, for one summer. And when I saw like a professional like Tour de France or style peloton roll by and how fast they're going and how close they are to each other, and then you see like this whole, it's almost looking like birds in flight when they all turn on a dime in one direction, and you're like, how do they not wreck going into every single corner? And because there's like, it's a situation where like if a couple of those guys wreck, 80 of them are wrecking. There's no way to avoid it. And it's like a NASCAR race at Talladega or something where those front two cars hit. Everybody's getting it. Everybody's getting some. And, they're wearing helmets, but that's pretty much it. And you're like, these are human daredevils. They are human. It is insane. The downhill skiing people. And you know how fast they're going. You hear like 80 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour, whatever it is. But then you see it from the drone footage behind and how quickly they're turning and how insane that is. And you're like, okay, that's tip the cap to all y'all. That is insane that you're doing that. And I know that even though that's still, I'm glad we still got the downhill gold there. The women, Breezy got the gold, and so Norway didn't get that gold. So take that, Norway. Take that. You take all the wins you can get. The Lady Vols would take a win if they could have gotten
don't
one.
like Norway, do you?
Just during the Olympics. Only during the Winter
Okay.
Olympics. There are, let's see, how many, let's see, what's 52 times 4?
108? Nope, 208.
No, 216? Is that right?
52 times 4? Yeah, 208.
Oh, wait. You're
100?
right. You were right. 208.
200?
So out of 208 weeks in a cycle, there's like 3 weeks or 4 weeks where I don't like Norway. Other than that, I love the Norwegians.
All right,
Good people, man. I don't like the weather, but I mean, good people. But during the Winter Olympics, man, it's like the days of the Soviets are they're not in there right now. So, because, they done cheated quite a bit. And so, it's like you got to have a nemesis. In this life, you got to have a nemesis.
I actually had a chance to watch figure skating. I never watched figure skating ever.
Not a big fan?
No, just never. But then
But it's fascinating when you.
it
get
is.
to
So
it.
then,
It
well,
really
you
is.
see how in sync they are, and then how they have to twirl in the right
Yeah.
way. And
It's super athletic
Listen.
too, especially duos. It's
That
like,
they're
yeah,
do-
I'm saying I was watching
it's
the duo.
no joke.
So I was
But they're
watching.
doing it with 2 knives on their feet.
Yeah, they're yo. Listen, I don't know names, but I know the American. They're dating. They're married, I think. They look really in sync. But that France couple, or they're not a couple, but the France pair, man, I don't know. They were moving too, man, and it was like twirling and jumping.
So
and
you're like there's something there.
there's something there.
There's something there. Like there's too
Maybe a
much.
spark, maybe a future.
That's not just
a future
yeah.
in the thing.
That's not just your work wife.
reporting
sir.
career.
That's not just your work wife,
I
sir.
don't know, man. They were, but it was really interesting the way how they were so much in sync because like it was like they didn't miss a beat. And I know that's what they get judged for, but they didn't feel like they didn't miss a beat. Like the left foot hit the left foot at the right time. I'm like, geez. And I'm not just talking about France. I'm talking about it was America, there was France, and there was one more. I forget the last one. But when I said that, when I seen those two compete, I was like, those are going to be gold and silver. Whoever is going to pull that out. So it was really good.
So there, you were holding up the 10.
Yeah, I was like 10. That's a 10 for me.
The American judge gives it a 10.
But some of it didn't wow me until they started doing the twirl and then
Yeah,
and
when they like lift each other.
Yeah,
over the
that's when I
head
was
and
like-
start spinning. You're like,
you
how
got
is that
something.
even possible?
Yeah,
You got
because
something.
Because they're dancing on ice with knives.
Also
on their
defying
feet.
physics in some way. I really do wonder how that is even possible. Some of those moves.
It's nuts, and you just I mean probably PEDs, but I mean if I'm being honest, I'm just guessing.
Not everybody. Come on.
I mean not everybody, but a lot of them.
Once again, any advantage that's legal, right?
Sure,
People will take.
and the people who commit the PED crimes. I've covered this enough to know they're always one step ahead, almost always one step ahead of the people who are catching it. Because what happens is it's Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner. Like you learn one thing and they learn how to test for that, but then they come up with something that you don't even know exists to test for yet, and you don't know how to test for it because you don't know it exists. And they
Right.
find it first, and then they have to find out, wait, why is this person going so much faster or so much quicker? That something's not right. Let's do this. Let's look at it again. Wait, here's this substance. We don't know what it is. Okay, here's what it is. Now we'll test for it. Now you can't do that one anymore. Someone will get popped for it. Then they'll just find something else. And it's just kind of the dance and the way that it goes. But, when you talk about the chemistry issues, and I don't know what exactly the chemistry issues would be right now with Kim Caldwell and with her team. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that when I've been around the Tennessee fan base long enough to know they're a lot like a lot of other passionate fan bases in that they don't really want to hear certain things. And I know the men's team better than the women's team, covered them more over the years. And I know that, for instance, when Rick Barnes would say things in years past about his players at times, people would get the impression that he did not understand that it started with him.
Yeah.
And I know that he didn't feel that way, but he just had a way of saying it that looked that way. And if you've noticed, the past couple of years, Rick Barnes has adjusted, and he now does what a lot of other coaches do when he'll come out and say, hey, it does start with me. That's my fault. I'm the coach. We're the coaches, but we also need this from them. And so he'll make his point, but he'll make sure to usually say it with that. And it might be time for a PR adjustment similarly for Kim Caldwell, because I think this one in particular, it just felt like this one, after the worst loss in program history, to come out and say that, even if it is true. And you know what? To a certain extent, it absolutely does have to be true, because I've said for years, things come down to the players. They come down to the players. But I can say that. You can say that. You can say that. When the coach keeps saying that, people don't like that part of it. They don't like to hear it. And I think the reaction to this one was not great.
Well, I'm going to ask you before I even go on my spiel. Was Pat Summitt this brutally honest?
Yes, but she did have a habit of saying, we're the coaches here. So, we're either coaching this or we're allowing it to happen. Like we have to stop this. And so but they also, Pat would have to come out and say things usually after 30 and 40 point wins. So it was different. So she would sit there, and I covered so many press conferences for Pat Summitt, and I started laughing about it. When they would just beat the absolute snot out of somebody, and she would come out to the press conference angry about like Saban style, about a bunch of things she didn't like. And I'm like, really? Come on. I mean, this is a little performative, isn't it? You're just trying to keep them from being bored. You're trying to keep them from being complacent. I get it. But maybe that's the difference in the way the most successful people are wired. I'm sure it is, right? But so this is different. Like Pat wasn't wearing 30 and 40-point losses, clearly, because the two worst losses in program history happened this year. And so that's
no. The
different.
second worst was 1941, I think, against Texas. Then the third was UConn 2 Sundays ago versus. But it's like this though, Wes. Only reason why I asked that is because maybe she's trying to take a Pat Summitt route. I don't know. I wasn't around when Pat was here. But I would tell you this. I think that this is a new generation of players. And some of them could be toughly coached. Others, you got to, like, find different ways. And it's funny because somebody asked Dawn Staley after, and they asked her if she had a message for Kim Caldwell. And basically she was just saying that she wouldn't have said it publicly. But she knows that it's a game. If you want the best out of your players, sometimes you got to play a game to make sure that you got to get the best out of your players. Sure. You can't be just all times. You can't be brutally honest. Sometimes you got to just, find another way to get your best out of your players. And like I said, I think Kim Caldwell's a really, really good coach. But it's just like she just have to find another way to get it out of her players. Because I think, like I said, Lady Vols are very talented. I think UConn will win it all again. But I don't see why they're not a Final 8 to a Final 4 team if she can get the best out of her players night in and night out.
I want to put a pin in what you just said there because I'm going to come back to that later after you have to leave. But I want to remember that you said that because finding different ways to say things, that dovetails a little bit with something I'll say about the men here in a little bit. But I think what people want to hear, and as a coach, you are a public figure. Obviously, you are the public tone setter for your program. You are the face of it, usually at the college level. If you have like if you've got a Caitlin Clark or somebody like that, then that's a rare case where a player would be the face of the program. Usually it's the coach in college sports. And Kim is the face of Tennessee basketball right now. And I would say that you got to be very careful because when things are going tough, about the only thing that works in some ways is you tell the players behind the scenes what the exact truth is. And if it's their attitude, if it's their deficiencies, if it's their not listening, then say that. But publicly, you're the coach. And what happens is, even if what she's saying is true, if you say something like that a few times, then what naturally happens, and you see it time after time after time, and there is some truth behind it. It gets exaggerated, but there's truth behind it, is people say, okay, if you've said something like this a few times in a row, why have you not fixed it? Who's in charge here, you or them? If this is happening, why does it keep happening? You built this roster. You're coaching this team. You're putting it through practice every day. So no matter what they're doing or not doing, you're the one leading this. So people need to hear that publicly that, I'm the coach. I got to get it. We got to get it out of them. Whatever. Clearly there's a message that I'm trying to get across that they're not getting, or we're trying to get across and they're not getting. And, I love these women. I love, what they're about. And I got to figure out how to get the most out of them because I feel like I'm letting them down. Like, we got to get more out of them. So if that's me being, harder on them, softer on them, whatever it is, I got to figure that out. And that's what you have to say publicly, no matter what. Now, behind the scenes, you could be ripping doors off hinges. But that's what people want to see their coach doing. Now, again, if you get the results, do whatever you want. Look at the Florida basketball situation last year. As 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 gross as some of that felt,
Right.
they were getting results, so they made it work, right? You get results, people are going to look the other way. People are going to let you get away with things. People are going to, and I'm obviously talking apples and oranges here, but what I'm saying is, if you win, do whatever you want. Like they used to say with the Boston Red Sox, right? Manny was being Manny, and it was really cute, really funny. And then he didn't hit 300 anymore, and then it was a different story. And I'm not saying, I mean, the rebuilding project that Caldwell took on is one that was probably going to take time. That's fine. But you don't want to feel like you're taking a step backward. And in some cases, I mean, 2 of the 3 worst losses in program history recently. That's and it's not the first year, right? And so this is the second year. So again, I think the way they're recruiting, give it time, could get better. But I'm really worried, Elijah, that they can't find a second way to play.
I'm happy that you said that. It's going to take time. Because honestly, I don't like that when you post stuff like that and you see a lot of Vol fans, fire her, let's get this clear. Y'all can't do her job either. Like,
No, but they want her to do her job.
They do want her to do her job. They do. But let's make this clear. Just because you fire somebody isn't solving the issue, because when you fire, you have to establish a new culture. Then sometimes you got to reset your recruiting.
Sure.
You got to reset this whole thing all over again. I'm not saying that Kim, if she's the future of this program, she's the future. If she's not, she's not. But just getting rid of somebody doesn't bring back Tennessee will be a top 10 team again, because you have to go through, you don't understand the whole process of building of destroying just to build again. You have to do that all over again.
Well, every time a coach doesn't work, every time another new coach doesn't work, it doubles down on people's arguments that would say, well, only Pat Summitt could do it.
Exactly.
So is that the program or is that the person? And so you have to give people a fair chance in that right moment to say when it's not enough. I'm nowhere near that. That's not even in my mind right now at all. But all I'm saying is, if they are going to be dogmatic about the way that they're playing the game, then the results do have to improve. And they either that or and maybe it's something where she's built the kind of team where this is all they can do, so they have to do it well. I don't know. I don't know that. I just what I know is that the concern with the way they play is that when things don't go well, they really, 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 really don't go well. And if you want to win the way this program wants to win, you're talking about winning at least 4, if not 5 or 6 games in the NCAA tournament. And to do that, at some point during all those runs, just about every team has a game where they don't hit shots. And they have to find another way to win. Now, Tennessee this season has won a couple low-scoring games. Credit to them for that. I don't want to ignore that. But maybe not against the kind of teams you're going to want to be playing for things that matter. So, again, I'm not in any way freaking out or thinking anybody else should freak out. But the vibes aren't great right now, and maybe they weren't going to be during this stretch.
Well, they got Texas on Sunday, so we'll see how. And Texas is another big SEC team.
Mm-hmm. And if it's just, you don't want to lower the bar where they can just walk over it, but you know what? Don't lose by 1,000,000 points. Let's start there. Be competitive, all right? It's never the standard for this program. The standard is the standard, but let's just not take another 40-point L, okay? Let's not do that, is what I would say. Elijah, thank you for being here today, man. I want to remember what you just said about finding a different way to say things, because it's going to dovetail into what I'm going to talk about with Rick Barnes in the next segment. So let's put a pin in that. And for now, we'll say thank you for being here, Elijah. And for y'all, we'll be right back here in just a couple minutes on 10 at 3. Back to secret time.
We're back at secret time, and I'm being told to wear a Texas.
Tom has a South Carolina hat on.
I do.
Since he's keeping the trend up.
But the thing is, I don't root for Texas. Not in
doing?
any sense. No way. No way.
He's like, I mess with Texas.
Not just as
That's what I do. I mess with Texas over here. Yeah, and thank you, Elijah. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's great.
Listen, it's interesting because I do watch the Lady Vols, and I said this earlier, because of the fact that I would be fine working 7 days a week, but I know my wife wouldn't, and I don't think my bosses would either. So
Probably not. No.
they actually do. It's been nice to work at a place where they're like, we actually kind of mean the whole family, life work balance thing. I'm like, everybody says that, and they're like, no, we actually kind of mean it. I'm like, oh well, they actually do. So that's nice. But because of that, you just can't cover everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like now I tell you, baseball season starts Friday, and there's gonna be a lot less Sundays off. So we're gonna be having to figure out the
already a
schedule
busy
again.
season with all the news that came out on top of the games. And then baseball season on top of that. You got your work cut out for you.
I mean, but it's like
never ends.
And that's the best and worst part about it is
30?
there's always something to do. But then it's like if you don't watch every second of a game, you feel like you're kind of letting people down because you're supposed to be talking about it, and you're supposed to know what you're talking about, and you're supposed to know the people involved, and it's like
kind of has to be, yeah. You got to kind of know what you're talking about.
And it's like you can't do everything all the
Tim.
time. So usually I'll watch them on from a distance and to be able to talk about them. So
Sure.
makes you feel a little less authoritative, but.
We'll be right back at you.
Welcome back to 10 at 3. Wes Rucker now with Tom Barclay because
Honor lonesome.
Elijah
again.
has taken off. He's got some things to cut before.
Great conversation, y'all.
Before it's been that's the thing about tough times often lead to the best conversation because when you win, it's just easier to reflect. I don't know why this is, but when you lose, you think about things that could have been better. But when you win, it's just like, hey, that was cool. It was a win. That was fun. But
as you mentioned during the Pat era, Pat Summit era, it's like she would, even if it's no offense, it's kind of boring to see a team dominate so much. You got to spice it up somehow.
I covered enough of those regular seasons to where the regular season, I mean, the postseason ended up getting to be fun again because there are some more close games here and there. But some of those regular season games when they were just really, really, really good was like, what's that?
If you ain't got no drama to draw the crowd, maybe create a little,
and you feel like you become
spice it up a little.
You feel like you become kind of a negative ninny as a beat writer because you're consistently writing features about things that could be better, and people are like, "Dude, they're winning by 40 points. Are you just trying to muckrake here? Are you trying to just stir up nothing?" I'm like, well, I mean, I'm writing about some of the things Pat's talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe start with her. Maybe start with the maker of the world's best jalapeno corn, Pat Summit. And maybe go there. And it is funny that some of the best dishes that she would cook would be spicy ones. It very much fit with the personality. She'd take like a food, just a regular kind of like a cream corn or whatever, and it just looks very southern and wholesome and down home. And then you taste and you're like, whoa, there's a kick there. And that's Pat Summit. That was the nature of Pat Summit. It was perfect. But the thing with the men that's different is that was also frustrating. Make no mistake about it. When you spend an entire week as a coaching staff telling guys, hey, by the way, remember 3 weeks ago when you had this team up by like 17 points and you lost in your own building? Hey, play 40 minutes. No matter what happens early, play 40 minutes because these guys don't quit. And this time it's going to be in their yard, in their barn. So lock it up. Play ball. And what happens? Tennessee puts together one of maybe the best half of basketball I've seen that team play this season, and not just because the shots went in. It's not just because the perimeter shots went in. It was they got what they wanted when they wanted it. Despite Felix Okpara only playing a couple minutes and being dinged up and clearly not 100%, they got what they wanted, and they took one of the loudest arenas in the country and made it a library. They got what they wanted when they wanted it. Nate Ament looked like one of the best, if not the best player in college basketball for that time. Still might go Boozer, but still, regardless, very clearly a Rushmore player in college basketball. And you knew, though, and you shouldn't have to know this. I knew it because I've been covering basketball games at Rupp Arena for 25 years. But these guys should have known it anyway, because in their own barn a month ago, they saw what that team could do coming back. Now you amplify that with one of the best arenas in the country, one of the best fan bases in the sport, in all of college sports.
They showed up.
They always do.
They always do.
And not just like they kept trying to put that team back in the game. They weren't booing. They were trying to get that team back in the game. And I heard people. We sit close enough to where other fans now, where they say, "Hey, remember what happened in Knoxville? Just keep playing. Just keep playing." They would just, and you heard it. And for them to just sit there in that second half and at times, I don't say this lightly, let that happen. And Rick Barnes came out and said, as disappointed as he was, it was not like the second half in Knoxville. You'll hear him say this, and we need to go ahead and get to it now, because we're going to hear what Rick said and then come back and talk about it before we get out of here. But you're going to hear it from Rick first, and then you're going to hear me talk about it after. But here's Rick Barnes after the loss at Kentucky.
What was different for you guys offensively in the second half compared to the first?
Well, obviously, with the way we made shots in the first half, you knew they were going to put more emphasis on the perimeter, Jacoby and Nate, and we were getting what we wanted in the middle ball screen. We just didn't finish it, and at that point in time, we need more from our post guys, and but I thought both teams played really hard. Not a lot of easy baskets out there. In the second half, they drove the ball really hard at us in the last couple minutes. I thought we should have been doing that more, but still, we were getting the looks out of the middle ball screen, but it came up empty on them.
You guys talked a lot about playing 40 minutes. Did you feel that was there tonight, or is this just a problem that this team has to find a way to overcome?
No, I think you got to describe playing 40 minutes. I don't think there's any question our guys want to win and they play hard. They play, and Kentucky's a really good basketball team. We had a big breakdown on the three. We over-rotated on the baseline, but that was them driving the ball really hard at the basket, and it wasn't because of lack of effort. It was because we really did a really good job of defending the three, better than we did last game. But that one play, and he made a nice pass to it, but we didn't execute that last three that they got the way we needed to. And but it's the kind of game we expected. We came here and our guys are really disappointed. We think that we can are as good as anybody that we play on any given night, but you can't make the mistakes we made. And again, we need some of those baskets at the rim to take the pressure off the perimeter guys. We've got to get some of them.
Yeah. Rick, why do you think those shots were being missed tonight that close from JP, Dwayne, especially through the second half? And how do you get those guys to a level of consistency?
I wish I knew. I do. I don't have an answer for you right now. I wish I did. But we got to believe in them, and they got to believe in themselves, and we got to take what they give us, and that's what they were giving us, and we just didn't finish it.
Rick, kind of going along those lines, just going along those lines, the offensive rebounding advantage that you guys did have tonight didn't quite translate into those second half points. And I know a lot of that was the bigs getting the ball and kicking it back out to the perimeter. But what was the biggest reason why those recycled possessions didn't lead to more second chance points?
Well, one, I thought we had some looks at it, but still, our post guys need to score some for us. We had no post game whatsoever a year ago, and we think we have one now. Felix hadn't, tonight I don't know what he played, but he hadn't practiced really, and not that that's not making an excuse. It's just that I don't know. I'd have to look at it and see. I do think that the turnovers, we had a couple turnovers at the absolute worst time you could have it. And that we have to fix. Now, we've talked about that enough all year, but I can think of, we got to take care of the ball better, especially when the game is going to continue to get more and more physical as the year goes on. It's just the way it is, which is fine with me. It is. But our players, some of them have never been in this situation. They have to adjust to it. And but we have to. I just think of the way we turned it over tonight. Kentucky, like any other team we play in the league, doesn't need any help, and those hurt. Those turnovers hurt.
Rick, Dwayne had 12 rebounds tonight, and you give up that big offensive rebound off the missed free throw. I guess down the stretch, why did you go away from Dwayne?
That was my fault. Again, that was my fault. I should have had Dwayne in there. Should have had him in there for that rebound, so I'll take that one.
Coach over here, start off shooting fantastic from the three-point line in the first half, and then don't make any in the second half. When something like that happens, an anomaly like that, what are you telling your guys as far as just keep putting those threes up?
Well, if we could put the first two halves of both of these games together, we'd probably win the national championship. But we haven't, and very teams in the first half that happens. If it had been the other way, I wouldn't have been real concerned about a 4-12. I wouldn't have been with that much time left, because we would have obviously made the adjustments that Mark made and tried to close that down. But it was a hard played game. Both teams played really, really hard, and both teams are really good basketball teams.
Jacoby had 1 point, no assists in the second half. Can y'all be a good offensive team when that's the case?
You got to be better, and that's one of the things I told him at halftime. And he plays hard, and we need him to. I'll say it. I've said it all year. He's got to learn to shoot a mid-range jump shot, and he's got a good one. He's got as good as one anybody in the country, and he's got to learn to do that when he's open. And again, it'll open up so much more for so many other things.
Rick, how different does this one feel compared to the one in Knoxville? And do you think your team will respond the same way?
Oh, they'll respond the same way. This one's. I can take this one. The one in Knoxville, shoot, it took me 2 days to get over it. And I've been doing this a long time, and I can normally let them go pretty quickly, but that was the way we just gift wrapped that one. And but they did what they had to do. They did exactly what they had to do to win the game. This is exactly how we thought the game. Even when we were up, you knew it was going to settle into coming down to a last minute play, and we got to get a better shot than we did there at the end. Got to put a little more pressure on the referees there than we did. But these guys will bounce back. They've got too much pride. They work too hard. Their work ethic's too good, and we have not reached the ceiling with this team, and that's a good thing right now that we can keep growing.
That was Tennessee basketball coach Rick Barnes, and if you'll remember, I said to put a pin in something Elijah said earlier about the way you're approaching things, and I think when you're Rick Barnes and you've spent an entire week telling your basketball team to not let something happen, and you're reminding them constantly they cannot let up if they have a big lead, they can't, and then for whatever reason it does happen. Well, you've tried the scare them tactic. You've tried the go after them tactic. So now you have to do I'm still proud of them. That was a different that happened a different way. I'm proud of them. That's a veteran coach who understands, I think, the situation and the assignment. And I think there's also truth in what he's saying. I saw both games happen, and they were different. Tennessee did just get pushed around in the second half in Knoxville. That did not happen in that game. But what did happen, and for me, there are a lot of things about that game that, to me, don't translate to March. I said that going into the game. If you go back and watch the last couple episodes of last week, I said there are very few things that you will go through in the postseason that are anything like playing in Rupp as the road team. They're different kinds of games. Plus, the way Tennessee has played against Kentucky, things have happened in those games that have not happened in other games they've played. So there's clearly something about that matchup or that it's just not gone well for them, okay? There's bad juju there. Something's not right. Now, if it happened against a lot of other teams, I'd be like, okay, but it's happened against them, so still not okay. It's a rival. It sucks. You don't want to have it happen, but it did. But what to me would translate to March as a concern was how timid Tennessee was offensively in that game. That's what I didn't like. Very, very timid. And we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but the way that Kentucky kept aggressively running their offense, the way that Tennessee didn't, that was a problem. That's what we got to talk about tomorrow. That is the concern. They got to play with more mental toughness offensively down the stretch of these games. They got to do that. We'll talk about it more tomorrow, though. We could have gone 4 hours today, but we got the one. But we got 4 more hours this week, so we'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about that, try to move forward. But before we do that, got to put a bow on this one. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in 23 hours.